What is going on, guys? Xtimus here. So today we're going to be doing a video on a beginner guide for a summoning Necromancer. If you guys are looking for a endgame Necromancer build, I would suggest that you check out one of the videos in the description below, as this build is specifically made for beginners. Now there's going to be a lot of details in the description below if you guys want to skip the certain parts of the video that you want to see, such as key bindings, skill points, and more. Just make sure you guys check that out so you can skip to whatever part of the video you need to see. Now moving on here, I really do not recommend that you guys use a summoning Necromancer for leveling. If you want a good leveling guide for a Necromancer, I left a link in the description below. This is a really good guide and I highly recommend it. Now if you guys really want to level up as a summoning Necromancer, I put this quick guide together right here. Just pause on the video if you want to take a quick look at it. But as I said, I do not recommend that you guys level up as a summoning Necromancer. Starting off with an overview, the highest rune cost is a soul rune. Also, the Necromancer can clear all areas of the game and it's very fun to play. And if you're playing with a group of friends, they have some very good support curses. Some of the cons are that the Necromancer has slightly slower killing speed, and it requires constant attention. I still think the build is pretty easy to play, it's just you really want to make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing to be the most effective. Alright, so let's assume you're in hell mode and you're ready to respec your character. You need to go to Akara and respec all of your stat points and skill points with her quest reward. So taking a look here at the skill tree for the summoning spells, we're going to put 20 points into Raised Skeleton. This is your main summon, so it needs to be maxed out. And then we're going to put 20 points into Skeleton Mastery. This is going to increase their life and damage. And then put 1 point into all of the skills below in this order. And you're going to put 20 points into Revive. Now some people don't put 20 points into Revive. I personally think that I want to summon more monsters and do more damage. Other players put points into Curses sometimes. When you put points into Curses, it really doesn't increase the effectiveness of the curse very much, but it does increase the radius of the curse. But for me personally, instead of investing more points into curses, I just cast more curses, so it has a more area effect damage. Moving on to the Poison and Bone spells skill tree, I put 1 point into Teeth and 20 points into Corpse Explosion. Corpse Explosion is going to be the highest damage dealing spell on this build, not your summons. And that's just the way Diablo 2 works sometimes. For the curses, you want to put 1 into amplified damage and 1 into lower resist all the way at the bottom. Just make sure you put the skill points in this order because that's the way it's going to work. Let's go over here on the right side and go to your spells. So you want to hover over amplified damage and hit F1, and then F2 we want to use Decrepify. Decrepify is a really good spell that you're going to be using on bosses. It really slows down enemies. Any boss that you think might kill you, or if you're about to die, just cast Decrepify, and all the monsters around that area of the curse will basically just be like super frozen. And then number 3, we want to hover over lower resist and hit F3. Lower resist is really good if you have spellcasters in your party. So if you have a sorceress or anything like that, it's really good for a boost to your party. And then F4, we're going to be using Corpse Explosion. Like I said, this is going to be doing the most damage on your character. It's going to be doing more damage than your summons alone. And then moving on to F5, hover over Raised Skeleton and hit F5. Raised Skeleton is the main skeletons that you're going to be summoning. Once you kill some monsters, you just want to turn them into these skeletons. So moving on to number 6, this is Revive. This is where you can turn dead monsters into the version that they were when you killed them. And then F7 is just a Clay Golem. This is just another monster that you can spawn. He really doesn't do much, but I recommend Clay Golem because he has lots of defense and life, so he's just going to be a tank for you. Alright, so let's talk about our gear. First is the weapon. We have a Crystal Sword Spirit. Now I have a video in the description below if you guys want to figure out a very quick way and easy way to get the Spirit rune word. This is definitely recommended, so make sure you guys get this weapon. As far as the armor, we're using Stealth. This is a very cheap build, and this is if you have absolutely nothing, and Stealth will really go a long way. You will probably get this in Act 1 normal. With the helmet, we're using a Undead Crown. This is a really good helmet to use for a summoning Necromancer, and most people just get rid of it, but it's really useful for you. And if you don't come across this, you could also use the Lore Rune Word. Either one works. I don't think it's going to make or break the build. For the amulet, just use whatever amulet you have at the time. I would just recommend you pick up magic amulets and rare amulets, and eventually you'll just come across one with some Necromancer skills. Or you could also gamble and eventually you'll get something like this. For the shield, we're using a Spirit Monarch. This is another really important shield in the game. Eventually I will have a video in the description below if you guys want to figure out how to get a Spirit Monarch. And for the gloves, we're using Train gloves. These are very cheap in the trading community, and this is just the perfect gloves for your character. And as far as the rings go, it really doesn't matter too much. This is a budget build, so just use whatever rings that you found along your journey. Same thing with the belt. I think Night Smoke is really good. It gives you some good resistances and mana there, but it really doesn't matter too much. Like I said before, and I keep saying, it's just a very cheap build, and you're just going to be able to do hell mode even if you have almost nothing. And as far as the boots, I'm just using some faster run walk boots. Now the Mercenary is really important for this build. You want to make sure you have a Act 2 Nightmare Offensive Mercenary. You want to make sure you have an Act 2 Nightmare Mercenary because it gives you a Might Aura. And this aura is going to be applied to your summons and it's going to increase their damage. And right now I'm using a really cheap Insight rune word. This has a meditation aura and it's really going to increase your mana. But not only that, it's just overall a really good weapon to have for your Mercenary early on, and it's really cheap. It's just one of the best in the game. Trust me, just get an Insight polearm. And for the armor, he's using the same exact armor that I'm using, is just a stealth leather armor. For the helmet, we're using Telrasha's helmet. This is definitely one of the cheapest and most common endgame set items. Once you get to endgame, you will be seeing these all the time, but it's really good. For the Mercenary, it's very effective because it has 10% of life stolen per hit. This means that every chance that he hits the monster, it's really going to give him a boost to life. So then you don't have to worry about healing your Mercenary. And overall, it just gives some really nice bonuses like all resistances, life, and defense. Alright guys, so now let's get into some gameplay. You just have your Mercenary and your Clay Golem, so hit F7 and summon your Clay Golem. Now what you need to do right now is you need to get some skeletons. This means you need to kill some monsters and summon them and turn the dead monsters into your minions. Now if you're in Act 5 or whatever difficulty you're in and you have the Neolithak portal up, you can just go in here and there's going to be a bunch of dead skeletons in there that you can summon. So you actually won't even have to kill anything if you have this portal up. Now if you guys don't know anything about Neolithak's temple and the portal, just make sure you guys never get the Halls of Pain waypoint. If you get the waypoint, this portal will close and you will never be able to use this trick again on your character for whatever difficulty you're on. Now if you can't go into the portal, I would just suggest you go to the Frigid Highlands. Now if the portal is closed or you guys just don't have access to the portal, I would just go anywhere that's really easy and just kill a few monsters and raise some skeletons. But since this is the most effective way, we're just going to go into the portal and we're going to raise up some skeletons. So you can notice that they're all dead in here and you can just start summoning them. So and with your skeletons, you always want to make sure that you have the maximum amount of skeletons summoned that you can possibly have. Mine are 11. Alright, so if you have your skeleton summoned, let me show you guys how to play the character. So the first thing you want to do is hit F1 and make sure you have on amplified damage. You can see some monsters right here. We're going to cast amplified damage on them. And what this is going to do is it's going to increase the damage that they take from the skeletons. And it's also going to increase the damage of your corpse explosion. So once one of the monsters died, as you can see right here, you want to hit F4 and use Corpse Explosion. Now this is going to explode the corpse of the monster that you killed and do a ton of damage to the monsters in the area. And as you can see, these monsters right here just completely died. Now that the monsters are dead, there's certain things that you can do. As I said, you can raise more skeletons, but I already have 11, the maximum amount of skeletons that I can spawn for this level. Or you could use revive on them and just revive these minions to fight for you. But most of the time, if you have all of your minions, you just want to use Corpse Explosion on their body. You just want to make sure that you cast amplified damage in the surrounding area on all of the monsters all of the time. Just to make sure that they have amplified damage on them, because this is really going to increase the damage, as I said before, from your minions and your Corpse Explosion. I would also try to make sure that if you're in an area and there's lots of corpse and lots of dead monsters on the ground and there's even more monsters in the area, maybe try to bring those monsters near the corpses or the dead monsters so you can cast Corpse Explosion on them. Alright, well there's the Summoning Necromancer build on a budget for beginners. Thank you guys to everyone that voted on this video in the community section on my YouTube channel. Over 1,000 of you voted, so thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys subscribe if you want to keep up with Diablo 2 content, and hit the bell notification if you want to get notified when I upload new Diablo 2 videos. I love you guys so much, and I will see you on my next video.